Welcome to Bada Goodbyes. Each week on our show, we spotlight species from the IUCN Critically Endangered Red List. These are plants and animals with decreasing populations, nearing the edges of extinction. And so we'll share species research, information, and conservation proposals. We'll spend part of the show opening a space for contemplation and awe. We'll improvise a soundscape of gentleness, of reflection, of delight, and maybe of grieving. Without conservation activity and significant societal shift, many of these species may not survive the 21st century. And so perhaps we might acknowledge their journey with a moment of our attention, a recognition of our kinship, and with a commitment to personal and systemic change. Thank you for listening. On today's show, we consider the sociable lapwing. The sociable lapwing is a critically endangered migratory avian, a bird native to breeding grounds in Kazakhstan and wintering sites in Sudan, India, Pakistan, and in small pockets across the Middle East. Its scientific name is Vanellus gregarius, and it was first described in 1771. The sociable lapwing is a mid-sized lapwing weighing roughly half a pound and measuring about a foot from beak tip to tail feather with a 2.5-foot wingspan. The sociable lapwing is a beautiful bird. In their breeding season, they have generally dusty tan feathers, black at the crown, that's the top of their head, with a white stripe called a supercilium that runs from the beak above the eye to the back of their head. They have a black eye stripe and a sandy brownish gray neck and breast, which transitions into a darker brown-black patch on their belly with a warm chestnut patch on the lower belly that then fades into white on their undersides. The ends of their wings are black, and there is a black patch on their white tail feathers. Then at the end of breeding season, in the lead up to their migration, the sociable lapwing molts. Its darker, high-contrast feathers are replaced with a more faded plumage, the black crown and eye stripe lightening to brown, and the black and chestnut patches on the belly fading to light brown and white. This shift in plumage results in a more uniform appearance, serving as camouflage in their warmer, dustier stopover and wintering sites. The sociable lapwing has long black legs, small black eyes, and a straight black bill. The sociable lapwing is diurnal, mainly active during the day, foraging for insects, beetles, and caterpillar, as well as spiders and other small invertebrates. They also feed on a small amount of plant material, seeds, and grains. They feed in groups. The sociable lapwing is so called because it forages, nests, and migrates in large cooperative flocks and colonies. Flocks number roughly 10 to 50 individuals, and researchers have observed a colony, an aggregation of flocks, of over 3,000 individuals foraging and roosting together. A 2009 report describes a sociable lapwing colony of 1,800 plus individuals at a migration stopover site in Turkey. Quote, "We watched the birds getting ready to spend the night. Birds congregated gradually by walking individually or flying in small flocks toward the main group. A flock of about 30 individuals flew from the aggregation, passed a few meters above us, and returned to the larger group as though they were checking that we posed no threat." Aggregation of the sociable lapwings became much more noticeable after sunset. In late dusk, movements increased considerably, both walking and flying individuals coming together in a field. This movement took only some 5 minutes, just before darkness, and thereafter, all the birds kept still. End quote. Sociable lapwing maintain their gregarious social cohesion in part through vocalization. Calls, trills, songs, whistles, chirps, and a kind of staccato communication described as a karek. We have recordings of the sociable lapwing I'd love to share now. Both are from Kazakhstan. The first was recorded in 2013 by Thijs Fijen of 1 or 2 individuals, and the second was recorded by Frank Lambert in 2025, and it's a small flock of 8 individuals. Let's listen. As mentioned, the sociable lapwing migrates. Their yearly life cycle pivots on two roughly 3,000-mile journeys. In August and September, flocks depart from their breeding grounds in Kazakhstan. A majority of their population migrates southwest, with stopovers in Turkey, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Saudi Arabia, eventually arriving in November and December at their wintering ground in Sudan. A smaller portion of their population flies southeast, with stopovers in Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, eventually arriving in Pakistan and India by November and December. And a very, very small portion of the flock migrates south to winter in various sites across Western Asia and the Middle East. I could find no clear explanation for this dispersal, though through GPS tracking studies, we do know that flocks intermingle at their breeding grounds in Kazakhstan. So groups that congregate together in the north may disperse to different southerly wintering grounds. GPS studies have also demonstrated that the sociable lapwing exhibits high site fidelity in their stopover and wintering locations. They return year after year to the same places to rest and forage along their journey, and to the same sites to overwinter. So they spend winter in the south, then in February and March, the flocks return home along near identical routes, arriving at their breeding sites in Kazakhstan in April and May. The sociable lapwing is monogamous. A breeding pair will persist throughout a breeding season. And after mating, this is early spring, both parents participate in nest building. Nests are shallow dugouts on the ground in short vegetation, sometimes lined with bits of plant matter, pebbles, and dung. An average clutch of 3 to 4 eggs is mainly incubated by the mother, occasionally by the father. The eggs incubate for roughly 4 weeks, and then the new young are born precocial. Shortly after hatching, they are mobile and able to forage for themselves under the supervision and protection of both parents. The hatchlings fledge, they learn to fly, after about 40 days. Juveniles are believed to reach reproductive maturity at 2 years, and the sociable lapwing has an estimated lifespan of about 5 years in the wild. In the dream, the old and tattered dream of harmonious coexistence, of thriving and allowing others to thrive among us. All others, human and plant and animal kin. A commingling, a communalism, a broad, grand, joyful nest of mutual care and flourishing. A radical acknowledgement of the deep mysterious weave that knits us all together. I dream of this often, in sleep and in waking, of simply peace. In the dream. The Sociable Lapwing's native breeding ground is in north-central Kazakhstan, with a population concentrated in the Korgalzin district in the Akmola region near the Korgalzin Nature Reserve, the Nura River, and Lake Tenji. This is the Kazakh steppe ecoregion, a landscape of arid plains, grasslands, savannas, and shrublands with gentle hills and few trees. Vegetation is mainly drought-tolerant fescue, feather grasses, and low-growing shrubs. The climate here is extreme. Summer temperatures average in the upper 70 degrees Fahrenheit, though can sometimes peak above 100 degrees. Winter lows average in the single digits, and annual precipitation averages only 13 inches. Here we find our sociable lapwing, perhaps surprisingly, near human habitations. Their nesting colonies are most frequently found within 1.25 miles of human settlements, sometimes in fallow fields previously cleared for agriculture, and often in the active grazing lands of domesticated livestock, like cattle, sheep, and goats. Research suggests a synanthropic relationship between the sociable lapwing and humans. Synanthropic simply means an undomesticated species that, through evolution, has adapted to live near humans and benefits from human behaviors and ecosystem impacts. The raccoon or the pigeon are classic examples of synanthropy. With our sociable lapwing, we find an even more complex intertwining, as they have seemingly adapted to the presence and behavior of domesticated animals. We have archaeological evidence of animal domestication in this part of the world, now Kazakhstan, from over 5,000 years ago. And in the millennia since, the sociable lapwing has evolved specific nesting behavior, which relies on the presence of nomadic domesticated grazers. So tall grasses prevent our lapwing from nest building. And when domesticated grazers feed, they open patches where the bird can dig out their nests. Livestock also produces manure, which attracts and concentrates the insects upon which the lapwing and their young feed. And additionally, the presence of livestock herds and of humans may deter potential predators. A 2009 study found that sociable lapwing nests were most likely to be found in the most heavily grazed areas. So across the last 5,000 years, sociable lapwing have evolved behaviors such that their reproductive success relies on human and domesticated livestock behavior. The sociable lapwing shares its breeding grounds in Kazakhstan with domesticated livestock: black henbane, saiga, northern wheat ear, flowering rush, black-headed gull, curlew sandpiper, hoary ragwort, Brombacher marmot, Eurasian whimbrel, two-roed seedstick, intermediate gray bush cricket, little stint, long-legged buzzard, gray heron, red fox, white-winged tern, green toad, small heath, black medic, mallow skipper, Caspian tern, little ringed plover, meadow fleabane, red-footed falcon, creeping thistle, great cormorant, brown monkwort, bluish iris, black lark, marsh sandpiper, narrow-leaved pepperwort, sand lizard, purple wood sage, and many, many more. Historically, human habitat destruction has profoundly affected the sociable lapwing population. Land clearing and the conversion of the native steppe for modern agriculture in the 20th century led to a 70% reduction of the sociable lapwing population from 1930 to 1987. Today, shifts in agricultural land management continue to have an effect. In the past, as our lapwing was evolving its synanthropic relationship, domesticated livestock were nomadic. A herd would graze a field, setting up ideal conditions for lapwing nesting, and then move on. Today, herds are not nomadic and are highly concentrated, so larger herds repeatedly grazing the same fields where the lapwing has laid eggs. This has led to high rates of nest trampling, resulting in egg and chick mortality. Only roughly a quarter of sociable lapwing eggs survive to hatch and fledge. Additionally, illegal hunting is affecting the sociable lapwing's adult population. Researchers have identified poaching pressure along the species' western migratory route as a factor in their contemporary decline. Fortunately, in the last 20 to 30 years, the sociable lapwing has seen increased conservation attention. The species is protected under the African-Eurasian Migratory Waterbird Agreement and the Convention on Migratory Species. Cross-national species action plans have been implemented to coordinate conservation activity across the range of nations and habitats through which the birds migrate. In Kazakhstan, a portion of the lapwing's habitat is protected in the Korgalzin Nature Reserve, and there are programs in place to help restore the Kazakh steppe habitat. In 2021, A major stopover site in Uzbekistan was declared a sanctuary. Saudi government is working to deter illegal hunting, and programs across the lapwings range are helping educate local communities to monitor breeding colonies and reduce the impact of livestock on nesting success. Nevertheless, the sociable lapwing has been considered critically endangered on the IUCN Red List since 2004, and their population continues to broadly decline. Our most recent counts estimate that less than 16,000 sociable lapwing remain in the wild. Information for today's show about the sociable lapwing was compiled from Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society B, Biological Sciences, Volume 373, from the Journal of Ornithology, Volume 154 and 162, from the IUCN, from Sand Grouse, Volume 31 and Volume 32, from the Wader Study Bulletin Group, Volume 93, from the United Nations Agreement on the Conservation of African Eurasian Migratory Water Birds, Technical Series number 30 and number 47, from iNaturalist, from IBIS, Volume 148 and 151, from an Atlas of Wader Populations in Africa and Western Eurasia, from Birds of the World at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and from Wikipedia. Our sound recordings were from Zeno Canto by Thijs Fijen and Frank Lambert. For more information about conservation of the Kazakhstan steppe ecosystem, please see the Altin Dala initiative at altyndala.org. So here in a moment, I would like to perform some music in hopes of making space to be in contemplation of the other beings with whom we share our earth, like the sociable lapwing. I do not intend to force meaning upon or extract meaning from the sociable lapwing. Instead, I want this music to simply express my awe for all life. And so I will pause in the space of sound and reflection, and I warmly invite you to join me. I honor the lives of all sociable lapwing. I will commit their name to my record. I am so grateful to have shared time on our planet with this gorgeous being. And I lament the ways in which I and my species have harmed and diminished this species. I grieve. And so in the name of the sociable lapwing, I pledge to reduce my consumption, my carbon footprint, and my wastefulness. I pledge to acknowledge and attempt to address the costs of my actions and inactions. I pledge to resist the harm of plant and animal kin and their habitats by individuals, corporations, and governments. And I forever pledge my song to the witness and memory of all life, to a broad celebration of biodiversity, and to the total liberation of all beings. This has been Bad at Goodbyes. Thank you for listening. Until next time, let's take care of each other and all of our kin.